All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October 26th live stream. So far on the stage, we have Blarg and Neil. I presume Ook will show up maybe later. But for this week, I wanted to. I didn't have any guests lined up. I didn't really have too much time this week to try to go to any of these guys to even consider showing up. So what we'll be doing for this week is just going over some of the threads that's on the latest Atheist Experience video. So I have a few of them lined up, and we can just kind of go through the comments and react to it. But first, I wanted to bring up, I had just recently posted this. Sometimes I like to put up what I call the ironic comment of the day. And so for this one, here's Zook. And so for this one, let me.
Hello.
Hey, Hook. So we're just getting started. And just to kind of start it off with, I wanted to bring up just one item, and I'm trying to find it here. I thought I had it ready, but it's where K. I can't remember his name. Is K something? Oh, Dennis K. So he asked a pointed question to J. Edith. Have you ever, even once in your life, been honest? And so he makes a response here. Oops. In his response, okay, here it is. Your problem is that I am very honest and accurate about your horrific condition. So I responded and said that this is the most ironic comment of the day from Jay Edith when he says, I am very honest. And I mentioned that it's as bad as when the GOP presidential candidate, meaning Trump, I try not avoiding writing Trump out, at least in the Atheist Experience, because I think they don't want to be political considering their nonprofit status. So I said the GOP presidential candidate claimed to be honest, and GOP comedians interviewing him could not stop laughing. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I've switched off with American politics for about the last month. So, yeah.
But good for you.
I do know what you're talking about, but yeah, I have completely switched off.
Okay.
Yes, unfortunately, Ook and I have had an election locally yesterday.
Oh,
so our state election was yesterday, and yes, the conservative twats won it easily, and you just go, wow, son of a bitch.
I looked at that and just went, fuck. What do we do?
They even managed to win a seat that hasn't been won by that party ever.
And fucking that Clive Palmer cunt got a fucking. He holds the power, doesn't he? Balance?
No, I think the LMP is going to hold it outright.
Oh, just for people who imagine one man is that rich he can buy a political party and then fucks, and I mean fucks, turns a city into a slum in the course of maybe 5 years, shuts every industry down in a city. That's what Clive Palmer, if you punch Clive Palmer in Australia into the search engine, I used to quite happily enjoy calling the parking police when he parked in the handicap zone with his rollers where I used to live. The man's a prick.
Yeah, Clive is like Trump, only stupider.
Oh my.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But also, obnoxious and incredibly wealthy. So he's one of those people who doesn't deserve to be lucky, but if you have 1 million people all rolling dice, there's a good chance that one of them will roll a whole big string of sixes. He's that guy. So he's not good at what he does. He's just, as I say, that sometimes the sun shines on a dog's ass, and that's him.
I'm surprised. No, he won't go to Townsville, because if he ever goes back there, I think they'll shoot him. He
used to be part of
fucked that entire place. Anyway, suppose we should go live, Q.
Well, we are live right now.
You're the ringmaster. We are live.
Yeah, we are live.
Oh yes.
I thought.
I see. How about this?
No worries. So for I guess some of you know the incident I'm talking about. He was interviewed on a podcast by a guy named Andrew Schultz, who's actually an alt-right person. He's not, or some people say he's a contrarian, but he's definitely not a progressive liberal. But he was interviewed on that channel, and I'll play a little clip. But what I'm responding to is when I made this comment that what J. Edith said was the ironic comment of the day. He typically, of course, responds and says, I think I'm lying or something. Oh, okay. Yeah, even your analogy is a lie, he says. Where were these GOP comedians? Produce the video, liar. So him not knowing anything about this and just responding and saying, damn, a liar, kind of says he's a liar. He doesn't care about the truth. He's not just asking me to produce it. He's already saying I'm lying with that comment. So I'm going to play the clip. It's funny, it's short. It's just 12 seconds. So hold on.
I have a hard time doing it to them because I'm basically a truthful person, but and frankly,
yeah. So the interviewer could not, stop himself from just laughing at how preposterous that comment is. That he's basically a truthful person, because everyone, right, whether you're pro or against Trump, know that he's not a truthful person. So that's the video I was talking about. And so I'm not the liar here. And we know that J. Edith is pretty much a liar. Had most of you guys seen that?
No, I hadn't seen that one. I'm not sure how I missed it, but it is. That's pretty damn ironic that he goes on, because he only ever goes on friendly things these days, because he's too afraid of being asked questions.
Yep.
So clearly that was going to be going to be someone who was on his side, and even they hilarious.
Yeah. And for the most part, I think most of the interview was just kind of softballs, but they couldn't really do anything about that.
Did you see the dishonesty in the interview with Harrison, the Fox guy?
Oh yeah, I had heard about it. I didn't see too much of it, but yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah. So she mentioned the wanting to deploy the military against American citizens, and calling American citizens the enemy of the people. And he goes, oh, well, we just had a town hall and we asked him about that. And here's his answer. And his answer is, I'm the one being attacked, not you, and so on. And Harris let him have it, saying that that Trump had been saying over and over and over that is the enemy of the people. But what she didn't know at the time, but she managed to just assume it was bullshit anyway, was that that clip was edited. So the question had been asked, he'd spent a big spiel going on about how Democrats are the enemies of the people, and then moved on to this other sentence that is where they opened up the clip with. So they cut out the bit that she was specifically referring to, and you just go, where the fuck is integrity in journalism? Like, honestly.
Well, but you can't count Fox as journalism.
Well, yeah, I know they made that argument and successfully that that Tucker Carlson isn't news, even though he's on Fox News. No right-minded person would think what he's saying is news. He's just an actor.
Yeah.
And apparently that was successful.
What their defense was like, for certain of those commentators, they shouldn't be considered news. But there are portions, very small portions of Fox where it is supposed to be news. So when Brett Baer, when he comes on, at least in some of his segments, he is supposed to be news. So.
Yep. And then they went and do that bullshit.
Yeah. It's just it's pretty egregious.
If you're looking for another potential candidate for the ironic comment of the day, go and have a look. Pull up the AXP throwback episode with "Is it supernatural or simply coincidence?" And 14 hours ago, there was an absolute doozy.
Oh no, really? Okay.
Yeah. There were 3 comments from the same guy. It's the earliest one of them, so the bottom one.
Wait, who's the guy?
Hang on. What's his name? Dean Martinson.
Oh, Dean Martinson.
He's got a blue D. What you looking for? 14 hours ago, 7 comments.
And it's the video for which?
It's the
Supernatural
throwback. Yeah,
is
the
it
supernatural
interaction. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's from a guy named Dean
Martinson. The 3 in a row from him.
Okay.
It's the
right. Let me
bottom one.
I'll show it here.
I got a funny story about the name Martin. I was mum was a fan of Dean Martin, and Martin is my middle name. Only problem is, when she wrote it on the birth certificate, or my dad did, he must have been a bit pissed, and he wrote Martian. So I basically fought the voting people for a few years, and then removed my middle name. Yes, they wouldn't let me vote, or if I had to vote, I had to go and go, yeah, it's Martian. Thank you.
So it's officially Martian. That's your middle name.
It was.
Oh, okay.
It
okay.
was. Yes, it was Martian. Not anymore.
Which one is it on Blarg? Of his 3 comments?
So they're all hilarious, but like if you have a look at the first one, he can't spell anything correctly. So the top one, you scroll up to the top.
Oh, the top one. Okay.
Yeah.
Almighty God laughs at atheists and this stupid podcast.
Double space laughs with an apostrophe and a capital L. Atheist without the plural. Just terrible. No full stop. And
he never graduated.
He never graduated. And then scroll down to his bottom comment. Is there it is. The OP for this thread.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt thinks he knows everything, but he doesn't. From the guy who never graduated, going on about other people not knowing things, and you just go, that's fucking priceless. Yeah.
And I mean, these guys just don't seem to just, completely lack self-awareness.
Yeah. An uneducated buffoon claiming other people think they know things they don't.
Oh, my.
That was a good. I enjoyed that one a lot.
So the other one, this came from this morning, at least for me. And this is like the last comment on this video, but
Who's
this is
he?
Apot. Go ahead.
Is that Apot?
Yep, that's Apot.
That's a new one. Oh, okay.
Yes, it
He
is.
changed it. He renamed it from that effing nuts name.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and he changed it to Atreyu because he was going on and on about the never-ending story and the nothing that's there, and trying to make some connection between that and atheism. But he asked a question here, and this is just, it's bizarre. I just don't know what he must be thinking. So he says, if you were camping and you went to bed and woke up with a sore anus, would you tell anyone? And this sounds like what he would be asking about himself and trying to say, oh no, not me, but a friend of mine.
Yep. Every accusation is an admission.
Yeah. So when I told him, that, okay, you don't need to tell us these things, it's TMI. And then he makes a retort that really isn't, very smart or witty or anything. He just doesn't know how to respond to these things. And so, he mentions, presumably it's you. So I tell him that he doesn't need to tell us about his fantasies. And it's kind of weird that he brings these things up in an atheist forum. And, that's, I'm being, honest there. I mean, like, what does this OP have anything to do with atheism, right? His whole problem with having a sore anus when he wakes up, it's like, you don't need to tell us that, boy. And then he kind of says that, oh, it's you, it's like, oh, no, it's just like kind of a childish retort. No, you. And so I made this comment that, his posts about his obsessions do give a record into what he's into, because he constantly posts these things. And I mentioned the only way this could be worse if he started getting into his obsession about dogs. And instead of like actually responding to that, he goes and makes a comment about being married to a dog and calling it a husband or wife. It's like, you don't have to help me that much to make himself look so bad. But it's like,
Isn't the married dog thing something he uses with Paul all the time? Montreal Paul?
it just raises it up. I don't know. I mean, I think
him and
doesn't matter.
Check.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just hilarious that he thinks that he's somehow making himself look good by saying things like this.
Well, it's all about he thinks he's baiting everyone, and he thinks he's playing everyone without realizing that basically we're all laughing at him.
I actually couldn't figure out when he said Seth thinks it would be better to be married to a dog. Until you just said brought up Seth to check. I guess that's what he means.
Yeah, I've got a handle on his many names for people.
And it's like none of these guys are any witty about these things. They just they're so stupid.
Yeah, similar to that. What's the woman's name? Elm, the vicious trans bigot was going on about a dog. Going on about a dog's anus as well, and you go, oh well, look, the only people who keep bringing this stuff up.
Is she the one who has a go at that thinks black people can't get skin cancer? Is that her?
Yeah, it's the same lass. Yeah.
Yeah, stupid bitch.
Oh my gosh. I mean, these guys just. Anyway. The other one was, did you guys see this Ivanos guy? And I noticed that he had actually posted.
I do have a
couple of times
going back a couple of years on him.
Oh, okay.
He seems well, Nazi would be the easiest thing. if you look through his profile, it's full of Polish and Russian type stuff.
Oh, he's a
cult. Yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah.
You'd know them well. His orthodoxy, he seems to pick every single orthodoxy. I didn't even know there was a Polish Orthodox church, but there is. Russian, Greek. He doesn't mention Catholic though, which I find a little strange. When you're saying Orthodox, I tend to lump Catholicism in there, but he seems to be going out of his way to exclude it. But yeah, Nazi is
the Polish.
a big one.
They had a very big counter-revolution. Counter-reformation. That's the word.
Okay.
So they were quite liberal when it came to the original religions, and then the church just went nuts, and so most of Poland became Catholic.
But
and a lot of Lithuanians became Catholic as well because of it.
Yeah, his all his folk and history sort of thing. What is it? The Winged Hussars, and I probably butchered that name, but yeah, that sort of thing. You know, the last great thing the Polish did was, well, ride against tanks, cavalry charge against tanks, but and that ended quite sadly. But yeah, he's. I just look at his profile and it's Nazi.
This is the first time I noticed him.
Anyone who uses moral Darwinism or the word Darwinism is just.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
You can always tell. all the whistles are going off, not just the dog whistles, but all the cat whistles.
But it's just that. I mean, he seems really. I mean, it just seems like he's just saying things. He doesn't seem to really understand what he's saying. You know, especially when he's talking about morality. But I mean, I guess you could say that about all these other guys. Like
it's a bit like Diva. You know how Diva just spouts off stuff that he's learned, wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. And whereas Diva's slightly more obvious, where you press button A and you get X quote, and you press button Y and you get Z quote. Ivanos is a bit more meld them together.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, like
Diva's barely more than a dictation machine at this point, is he?
Yeah.
I've had a gutful. I'm not putting up with him anymore on GC's platform, and I can get reprimanded for that. But yeah, I've just had a gutful of him. He's just someone who is, well, someone who shouldn't be allowed to roam free in society.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously isn't interested in and engaging in any discussion. You know, he just wants to kind of say his stuff.
He's only interested in preaching.
Yeah. And he wanted to keep like pointing out that video where he talked about his quote unquote miracle. You know, even though he can't post links, he kept on like attempting it and thinking that it was there. Probably because he could see it, but no one else could see it.
Well, if it stayed up, I removed it, but I haven't been around too much. Yeah, we've got a we're getting new resin floors put in the bathroom and the downstairs laundry and toilet, and they're beautiful. But by God, the fumes, which is probably why I'm full of ick today, they're enough to melt your eyeballs. Yeah, it's a month. I thought, you know, okay, you're going to get resin floors, lay them down, put the nice little stuff through it, make it look beautiful, but a month to do a bathroom and a toilet and a small laundry, you could have tiling done in a weekend. This thing, you got to wait for it to go off and then polish it and go off again and polish. I wouldn't recommend anyone put resin floors down unless you're going away for a few months. It's shocking. I don't know if anyone knows what they are. Have you seen them, Blarg?
No, can't say I have.
Yeah, they're mainly used in carport, driveway, garages and that. They're
Oh,
super hard.
you're talking about the ones with the flex that gets sprinkled on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They look great in carports.
Oh, they
really nice.
The one in the bathroom and in the downstairs laundry, beautiful. Just you don't want to be around them. As I said, go away for a couple of months. The fumes, not good. Anyway, but
I know this Avanos guy. He had some back and forth with you, Neil, on this thread.
Oh yeah, no, that was fun. That
was... But
every time we avoided it, I'd just bring it back up again. It was great.
But he didn't engage anyone else. Like none
No.
of the responses that I made or anyone else made, he responded to it. And the only reason he responded to you was when you mentioned that you are a theist. So here you say you're a theist, and this is in response to him talking about how and it's kind of hard to follow what he actually means. So he was talking about how it's a secondary question, responding to Quentin about objective morality. And he was saying that it's a secondary question or a matter of debate between the theists. And I presume that's what you're responding to.
Yeah, I basically went, well, if he wants to pull out only theists have objective morality, you know, having a theist go, well, actually,
yeah,
there is no objective morality that I've seen.
But then he kind of like latched on to, okay, what kind of theist are you? You know, as if that's the relevant part of the discussion, you know.
Well,
that
I was expecting him to do
theist.
that, which is why my response was to go, well, tell me what your objective morality is then.
The problem he's got is that if there are other theists who have other systems, then the argument that an objectively moral system even exists is on extremely shaky grounds, or at least based upon that sort of Kantian way of looking at the world. Even if it does exist, we do not have access to it, or nobody can demonstrate access to such a thing. So it's equivalent to it not existing.
Yeah, and actually that comes up quite a few times in other threads. But you know, my last response to him is that, you know, if there's any kind of relevancy to the type of theist, you know, whether Neil is a certain type of theist or not, he should, you know, mention that. You know, it's like, oh, my argument only applies.
It would highlight, you know, how he thinks about where objective morality comes from. But as we all reckon, he hasn't even thought about where objective morality comes from. He's just assumed it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's parroting at us for daring to question it.
Well, and that's true for all these guys. All they're doing is just claiming objective morality without actually, getting into what that means and where it comes from, etc. Because the other one I wanted to talk about is what, Jay Edith said when he gets, and this is, this isn't anything new from him. This is, he's said this same thing over and over, made the same kind of fallacies over and over. But, he basically says, without God, life is objectively meaningless. And so his point is that, you have to have a God to provide this, what he claims is a foundation for that objectivity.
But he can never actually provide why a God makes it meaningful.
Yeah. The funny thing about this is, the very first response from Dennis is that I dare you to go this entire thread without accusing anyone of lying even once. And the very first response he makes is this one where it says, yep, you cannot defeat the inescapable truth, I argued, so you don't even try, never have, never will. You are lying to claim this is not an indictment of atheism. So he
As
couldn't
soon
even
as I
make
saw
one single
Dennis's
comment.
post, I was like going, I know exactly what's going to happen. His first post is going to say lying in it somewhere.
Yeah. And
So
it's
as
not
soon as
his...
I saw it, I was chuckling away.
Yeah, and it wasn't a response to Dennis, but even in his first response to Dennis, he's like, why would I stop telling the truth about atheist lies? I dare you to demonstrate anything I am wrong about. You can't and won't. And it's like,
Even though he
no
can
matter
and he has.
no matter how many times we demonstrate, what he's wrong about, or what he hasn't proven, or the argument that all he's doing is making claims, he doesn't actually respond to any of that, But yeah, I thought that was funny. I mean, I saw that coming, but I thought at least, because he saw that comment, that he would at least make one comment where he doesn't accuse anyone of lying. And then later on, and so this is another one where, and Jay Edith is actually kind of honest about this. He's honest that he doesn't have direct access to his God, because it would be a lie to say, for anyone to say that they have direct access. The most that they could claim, at least for the Christian God, is that they have the Bible, and the Bible is telling them whatever information, but that doesn't take you to objectivity.
Not necessarily, because there are plenty of people who honestly believe that the voice in their head when they're praying is God.
Yep.
So, so the answers they're receiving, which is just, the normal old voice in your head, they're convinced that is God telling them what to think. So, yeah, it wouldn't be a lie; it would be mistaken, but which is not a lie if they believe it to be true.
But I think Jay Edith is aware that is gonna, that's a trap. Because I kind of try to, make that, little bit of trying to drive him that way, and he knows it's a trap. So he doesn't actually say, well, I know what God knows or thinks because I hear him tell me so, right? He doesn't go that route.
Speaking of pushing people towards such a thing, with APOT, if you've been paying attention, you see I've been hammering him with these are the questions you ran away from over and over and over, and he'll eventually, after a couple of days, actually answer a question, at which point then he'll run away from the follow-up. So hammer away at that, and he's doing his damnedest to not answer them, but he is definitely leading himself into that into the trap that has to happen You know, there's no logic in his position, so it has to run into a wall. And yeah, he's doing his damnedest to stay out of that. But yeah, keep hammering, and he keeps yeah, every couple of days. So we'll see if we can get him all the way. That should be fun.
He's never going to commit to anything, or if he does it accidentally, he's going to back out of it.
Yeah, he keeps doing that because he at one point he made the claim, I already answered this question. And I go,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you most certainly didn't. And then the next day I hammered him with the question again, and then he did answer it. Well, he answered 1/3 of one part of it, because the argument he's basically making is 95% Christian with this 5% of panentheist woo sort of tacked on to the top of it. So that he suffers from the same problem basically the Christian God has, that you know, the universe exists with laws and rules and governs how everything exists. God has to have been somewhere doing, in order to have created the universe, if the God and universe didn't come into existence at the same moment. And in order for God to be able to have thoughts that are coherent and exist at all, there needs to be a system of something that God is made out of that has rules about how that system works and interacts. And the problem is, where did that come into existence from? You know, yeah, so what are the rules that of the system? So he's answered saying that energy is eternal, and that's what God's made out of, energy and information. And you just go, okay, where did the information come from? Where did the energy come from? And yeah, he dodged that one, and so keep hammering away at it, and we'll see where he goes. But yes, he has that same problem, that if the universe needs a creator for the rules that govern it, then the place and stuff that God is made of needs a creator for what it's made of as well. Yeah, you can't. God just can't exist in nothingness if that rule applies, and can't come into existence from nothingness. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
I mean, the thing is, none of these guys have any specifics of what that God is, how that God works. You know, like, how does a God think? How does it have a will? You know, it's like there's no mechanistic explanation or understanding of what this God is. It's just this kind of like this monolith God, and
Yeah,
and
it's
it
a zero
somehow
answer.
works.
Yeah, it's
Say
the
again?
answer that means you stop asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So answer, God done it. No more questions, please.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't worry about the fact that God suffers from every single one of the same problems that are being applied to the universe. You know, the universe can't have existed for all time. You go, well, you have to prove that. But God existed for all time. God's outside of time. And you go, well, what does that mean? Either God doesn't experience the passage of time, which means there's no difference between the God who hasn't yet created the universe and the God who has created the universe. So the universe should have been created at the very first instant of God's existence, because there's no separation of time. There's a change between the God without a universe and the God with a universe, meaning time must exist. And if time doesn't exist, then yes, it can only have occurred at the very first instant. Or God experiences all of time, all of time, which means that God suffers from the same problem of the infinite regress. There's an infinite regress of thoughts that God has had over the infinite time he's lived, which means he can't have ever got to the thought which says, I'm now going to make the universe. So yeah, no matter how they approach this, they're sort of stuck in this place that God is logically impossible. If they apply that same argument to the universe.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is when they
it's
try
special
to.
pleading again.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
I think the problem is when they try to kind of convince people that they know what God is. So when they try to say, well, God is this, God is that, God is timeless, it's like there's no evidence or anything that, like, even for a Christian, when they look at the Bible, you can't, there isn't anything there that says God doesn't exist in our times, in our space time, is I mean, when it says eternal, they mean it in very different ways than what we, like in modern philosophy, would consider eternal. So them trying to kind of squeeze things in and to try to make an explanation when there isn't one is really what causes the problem.
Yeah, essentially they're trying to define God into existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's always what's happening here. It just go along and say, okay, well, philosophically they have these problems, therefore God must be. Yeah. And you just go, you have no basis to make that claim. Yeah, the only way you can get to that claim is you start from God exists, these problems exist, therefore the only way God can get around these problems is to have these characteristics. Yes, you can't build up from it, and when you build down from it, you then have to ignore the logic of your special pleading fallacy that inevitably occurs. And don't worry about the Occam's razor there either, because that's essentially where I was getting to with the problem of the place in which God exists having to have a set of rules. And you go, well, those didn't need a creator. Why would the set of rules need a creator in ours? All you've done is taken one unexplained set of rules and added another unexplained set of rules to it to explain the first set. That doesn't help.
I found something from Ivan about his morality. Here we go. One can deny free will in theory, but not in practice, because such a denial goes against human nature and leads to the abolishment of personal responsibility, including the legal system. There is no difference. In order to punish someone personally for its behavior, we have to recognize that someone isn't basically innocent and can be a criminal. In a sense, someone isn't fully controlled by external forces, but instead some word I can't work out how he spelt it, of law, and make their own decisions to commit a crime. Free will isn't necessary. Otherwise, everyone is basically innocent.
Yeah, so he doesn't understand the concept of free will, but he talks as if he's like thought this through, when it seems like he's just writing this kind of off the cuff.
It's almost a chat AI type thing where it's wedged sentences together that make grammatical sense, but not logical sense.
Oh, he's doing a Philippi.
Yes.
God from ChatGPT. That was painful.
It's not even that good. I mean, because I think a chat AI would do a much better job than what you had just read about.
It's certainly the current generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little scary. Some of the quality of the product that can come out of that, in terms of how eloquent it sounds.
Unless you're still stuck with the Google AI.
The
Google AI one isn't that good.
I went down.
Hey, there's the Jordan Peterson one now.
I went down the rabbit hole of AI sports and soft porn on YouTube the other day, and it was sort of like, oh my, hang on, no, that is wrong, because that woman kissing that woman has got 4 fingernails on one hand, and why do they always end up sucking noses? And the sports stuff, the diving, the there was an AI soccer one where people were running with 6 legs. It was just, you think like it's a normal soccer game, but if you look closely, you'll see that the people have got 6 legs. And it's,
Well, the newer ones have
Yeah.
that taken care of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty well getting to the point where they've solved those number of fingers issues. They're not quite there yet, but it's quite difficult for an AI to understand the intricacies of that particular issue. I saw an AI scientist discussing why that's really hard to do, and it has a couple of different dimensions to it. The complexity of fingers in photos being hidden in images and being overlapped with other people's fingers, and so as a result, the AI has difficulty training on how many fingers there should exist, and from various perspectives, because it doesn't have a 3D image of a human body in its head. So that makes it difficult, but also we are hyper focused on certain details, face and hands. So as a result, even a small error in fingers and or face pop up really large. It gets faces really well done, because faces are rarely obscured and overlapped and the like. So that one's quite easy for the AI to do, but the hands are really difficult. But it's only a matter of time before it's perfected.
Seem to match up. I sort of just, because I was bored, type, AI porn, and yeah, it's interesting, but it's also okay. Yeah, that's strange. Why can't anything ever match up? Just with kissing, they always seem to kiss the noses, and like someone's hands, they've got the number of fingers right and everything, but when they go onto someone's breast, it's like, hang on, there's a nipple between each finger. That'd be fun. Yeah, I never bothered with AI.
What a lucky woman.
Yes, I thought or a lucky guy. I thought I'd just go and see, porn usually leads the world in cutting edge stuff. So I went and not hardcore porn, I went for the softcore. And yes, it was quite hilarious. And then I got into AI sport and everything, and it was just sort of, no, I need to stop this. This is too strange and bizarre. I still haven't bothered to try and work out how to use ChatGPT yet.
So a couple years ago, there were people saying that criminals can wear these kind of extra prosthetic finger rings. So it looks like, they have more than 5 fingers, so that if they get captured on camera doing, illegal things, they could just say that the images are AI generated.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I don't know if it'll work, but that'd be kind of
Well,
funny.
it wouldn't, because the number of fingers remains physically consistent. The problem with AI generated is that they don't follow logical rules, so the fingers come into existence and disappear, and go in directions that can't logically exist. Whereas, if you put a fake extra finger on a person, that finger is always going to be in the right place. So, yeah, maybe it'd be enough to convince a member of a jury, but it'd be a hard slog.
So here it is. It's the ring finger ring. Pretty good, right?
That's hilarious.
Here's
That would be great to put into family photos.
yeah.
much better. Yeah, family photos. If anyone ever gives you grief, go, I didn't even turn up for that. Look, it's clearly AI generated.
Yeah, right.
I don't like those people.
That
by the way,
reminds me of those panoramic photos, the ones that take a slow time to do, and you get one person basically would run behind the cameraman and be at both ends of the picture. Those are great.
Yeah, that is fun.
So we had mentioned Jordan Peterson. Have you guys seen this? The Wisdom of Peterson.com?
Yeah.
It's a Jordan Peterson word salad generator.
No, I haven't. Please do.
Okay, so existence projects onto species specific dominance hierarchies. So I think it's just like, a lot of it seems to be like hierarchies, and there's another one I've like used this a couple of times on comments to see if anyone would realize. To sort yourself out explores your own opportunities. I wish this would be kind of longer so that it's not just like one short phrase.
Yeah, that would be good. Actually, you could probably get ChatGPT to give a Jordan Peterson-ism about something. There's probably a fair bit of stuff that it's got.
Let me see if that works. What would Jordan... Yeah, let's see if this works. What topic should I mention?
I don't know. Say about yogurt's existential existence.
Oh yeah,
let's just try this. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Maybe give a spiel about or ask it to say something like tell us about how good yogurt is in the way that Jordan Peterson would speak.
Okay. On this one, it says, act as if God exists and live in pursuit of the highest good, not as a matter of mere beliefs, but as moral commitments. In doing so, you confront the chaos of life with courage and order and create meaning in the world around you. Okay. So say again. Give
an answer to the question, what is yogurt, as if it was answered by Jordan Peterson.
Let's see if that does it. Well, yogurt is at a basic level a form of fermented milk that has been carefully cultivated by you. This is really good. But you see, it's more than just a food. It represents something deeper about human ingenuity and adaptation. Cultures across the world have found ways to make perishable resources and extend their usability, a remarkable feat that speaks to humanity's resilience and intelligence. This is pretty good.
This is the thing that ChatGPT does brilliantly. I was wanting it to do some poetry for an affirmation for a nephew, and just go, okay, well, here's some characteristics of the nephew. Can you give us a poem in the style of in the format of a Shakespearean sonnet, but done by somebody else, a different poet? And yeah, it absolutely just nails that shit.
Wow. Yeah,
and you just go, okay, now let's try it in the form of this poet, or what about in the form of that poet? and it just keeps regenerating the same general information in the same format, but with different styles. It's really fun, that approach.
Yeah. That wisdom of Peterson's site probably was started before things like, generative AI. So someone could make it better.
Yeah, I've seen a number of sites like that. Like I've seen a word salad generator that I was using for a while to post replies to word salad comments.
Nice. Okay, so let's just go back to J. Edith. This whole idea. Okay, so we went through this whole. Let me just make this bigger. Okay, so we went through all this, and so the other thing that I responded was, to basically, kind of say the same thing that he did about atheism, but just say God. With God, you have no objective meaning. All you have is meaning that you make up about a divine being that you make up. And the point I was trying to make is that, he's just making a claim, without really kind of any kind of backing. He's just saying, without God, life is objectively meaningless, without saying why or how that could be the case. So the response I got, and this is from the Monkey Boy, he's doing another white knighting session. So he basically called it a Tu Quoque fallacy and projecting, quote unquote, your fatal problems of atheism at Edith. So I'm not projecting atheism's fatal problem, so I'm not even making an argument about atheism, being meaningless. I was just trying to make the comment that he's just making a claim without any kind of backing. But I was kind of curious about with the Tu Quoque fallacy. So it's not necessarily a fallacy. I mean, Tu Quoque is basically saying that, that whoever's making the argument is being hypocritical because they also might suffer the same thing that they're accusing the other of. So, it's like saying, well,
but the problem with that is it doesn't solve the problem that you're trying to argue. So that's why it's fallacious. So you can go along and say, well, you don't have a moral standing, and you go, well, neither do you. That doesn't mean that you've demonstrated that you do have a moral standing, only that you've admitted the thing that's being leveled against you. It's actually worse than an argument. It's an admission of defeat.
Right, but
in
if
most cases.
that's the case only if I was essentially, admitting to the accusation, right? So if I was admitting
Yes, that's right.
that
But that's not what you were
atheism,
doing.
right? So if it was the case where I was basically saying, yeah, well, atheism is, whatever he accused it of, yeah, atheism is objectively meaningless, but so is theism. If that was my argument, then it would be a Tu Quoque fallacy, but that wasn't my argument, right? I wasn't
No.
conceding that atheism is meaningless, not per se. I didn't, say it one way or the other, but that's why I was, my response was that I was basically making a rhetorical argument, just kind of repeating his point, just from the other side.
Yeah, which is perfectly valid.
Yeah, and also, I mean, as let's say that someone says, well, you are a smoker, so you are, hurting other people around you. That would be valid only if I or if I said, no, or you smoke all the time as well. That would be a Tu Quoque only if I was a smoker. So if the other person's accusations are completely wrong, then, it's perfectly fine to point that out, that the other person is a smoker and smoking is bad, because the original accusation has no merit.
Yeah.
But just on that point, it's not, I guess you could argue that atheism, I don't think it's invalid to say that atheism is objectively meaningless, depending on your point of view, right? If you could be a nihilist, or you could even be an existentialist and say that just in terms of like an objective meaning to life, that there isn't one. But that itself is kind of an irrelevant argument, because like, so what? So what
Oh.
that life is objectively meaningless. What is the point?
Imagining a purpose from a God you imagined doesn't make it any more meaningful either. But even if we assume that God exists, then essentially what that does is it turns us into cattle. So farm animals' life is not meaningless. We give it meaning, which is the meaning we apply to it, which is to say, when you grow up, we're going to eat you. So yeah, that cow gets some meaning in its life, but yeah. So what? That doesn't make it useful, and it certainly doesn't mean that that's a thing that the cow actually wants.
Well, the argument I was going at wasn't that. It's more of, Jadis is kind of saying that because you need God in order to have objective meaning of life, that's the argument for God existing and an argument for atheism being wrong.
Well, that's a plain argument from consequences. If God doesn't exist, then I don't like what that means. My argument was just, let's assume God does exist, and that God does give you objective meaning by, God has a plan for your life. Well, we have a plan for the cow. So what? That doesn't mean that this is a good outcome.
Yeah, but I think Jaida's argument is the argument from consequences. I think he's saying that
definitely is. I'm just giving a yet another direction in which to say, okay, well, A, you can't demonstrate that a God exists. B, you can't demonstrate that the God has assigned any meaning to you if it does exist. And if we assume that a God exists, and we assume that the God has given has assigned a purpose to you, then you've made us into cattle. So no matter which way you slice this particular argument, it doesn't get to anything positive. And yes, his argument is on the base of it is definitely an argument from consequences. I don't like it, therefore God must be true.
That's a capital G God.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Jay. It's as kind of fallacious as saying, well, nuclear fusion cannot be true, because if it was true, in several billions of years, the sun would just burn out, and all of life on Earth would, die when the sun becomes a red giant. It doesn't say anything about. It doesn't really say anything about the truth of nuclear fusion, but because you don't want these consequences, you're saying that, well, we can't believe in nuclear fusion.
Well, an easier demonstration is the I don't have cancer because I don't like the diagnosis the doc gave me.
Right. That diagnosis cannot be true, because if it was true, then I would have cancer and I would die.
Yes, and I don't like that, so therefore it's not true.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the wearing of masks with COVID. The masks mustn't be useful because I don't like wearing masks, and if it's useful, I'm going to have to wear masks, so therefore it can't be useful. Yeah, over and over,
Yeah.
same arguments from consequence.
But this is something that he gives over and over.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
this is
It's
an argument
mind-blowing.
that he's made over and over. And it doesn't matter how this gets explained to him. And part of the reason I tried to get him on is so that we can have this type of discussion and try to see. I'm actually curious as to how he would respond to that. But of course, we can't ever get him on here to, have him back up his accusations.
Oh no, because he knows whenever he's pushed into a corner to actually answer questions, it doesn't go well. So that he doesn't go down that path. He just makes accusations and then shifts the burden.
And I haven't seen him, and I haven't really tried that hard, but throughout any of his thread, I can't really actually see him making a response to the argument. So,
He
he
doesn't.
starts
He
with
never
this.
does.
Yeah, and it goes
He just,
immediately into you're lying or you're wrong,
yeah.
or I'm right, so nothing you say can be right, that type of thing.
I've given up bothering to argue with him now. For the most part, I just make the usual comment about Clyde lied.
Yeah.
And sad, and leave it at that.
All you have to do is poke him with the stick, and you've got about 9 comments you can report as bullying. That's all he does. It's just, he really hates it when I say that, his argument from God, from the grammatical argument for God, because that's all he's got. God with a capital G. It's pointless. Nothing he ever does. I also notice that he's saying, APOT is saying he's got a playlist. Has he got a playlist on one of his channels?
I couldn't figure out what he meant.
Yeah.
It's not on that, there wasn't a playlist on that particular account that he actually responded from.
There's never, I had a quick look through the profiles that he's still got active that haven't been removed. I can't find a playlist on any of them.
By the way, before, I don't know, Neil, if you're still awake, but I wanted to segue to what you wanted to discuss. So, it's pretty much futile trying to argue with J. Edith or any of these guys. And I think you wanted to talk about Libby.
Well, it's mainly just to see if there's any angle on dealing with her that we haven't tried yet. Because, I don't know, we've all been pointing out her arrogance and her egotism and yeah. And the fact that she just goes on and on, and you just go, like, is there anything I can say that's going to get through to you?
No. It's just pure hate mongering. The only thing that works is every time she mentions John, whatever it is, I just report that for spam and ignore it. It's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Everything goes off her. Nothing sticks. You can't even get a rise out of it. Yeah, it's.
I did get.
I've
I did get a little bit.
She deletes her thread very shortly after anyone talks about her being bigoted. You can almost guarantee it that as soon as she makes a complaint that she's been falsely accused, and one of us points out, well, actually, it's not a false accusation because X, Y, Z.
Yeah, I think I'm the one who accused her.
Disappear.
Well, that might be the way to deal with it. Get her to delete her own threads. That may be a strategy to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just generally ignore it because there's really, she's one of the few, she won't argue. It's just.
I did manage to get it argued just recently.
Oh.
When I pointed out that you're not here for us, you're here for your own ego and pride. That we've told you over and over that this approach is all it does is demonstrate why we don't want to be part of your cult, and by you repeating it, you're only here for yourself and your own ego. So so you're not working for God, you're working for the devil. And she didn't like that very much.
Ooh,
Well, have you seen the few times she's called me Satan?
Well,
I haven't actually.
We can just point out that she's doing the devil's work by confirming to us why we don't want to be part of the cult of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so maybe.
She's one of the more. That's why I say that all forms of Christianity is insidious. It is, people say, oh, Islam, most harmful religion out there, or pick a religion. And for me, Christianity, it is the most insidious, it is the most evil religion out there, because you can have your hellfire and brimstone preachers, but they slide in with their love and it just corrupts everything.
They're like an abusive partner.
Yeah, it's the ultimate abusive partner. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And I think Libby is a perfect example, because it doesn't. I think I've only seen it go off maybe 2 or 3 times when the makeup started to crack, when you had and you've got to almost breach YouTube terms of service to actually get an emotional response out of it. She's one of the worst, I think. It just creeps along, spreading her. Yeah, it's like an invasive plant, if you will. I don't know. The only thing I can think of in UK to blackberries or brambles. Brambles would be a good. If you don't keep cutting it back, it'll overtake your yard.
But the thing is, like, I mean, she's not as kind of toxic and abusive, at least not blatantly, as some of these other
She's
guys.
quietly toxic. That's the problem. She presents herself as being this nice woman who's trying to help people, and yet, she's like trying to take people's rights away for being pregnant or being LGBTQ, and agreeing to genocide and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, but I mean, but those other guys also do the same thing, so I think there is something to be said about not being like a Nepi or a J. Edith.
And that leads to the insidiousness of Christianity, because it seeps into, it's like dry rot, or once you get it in your house, or termites, you can't see them, but they just destroy your foundation. And I think that's
Well, I mean, it is though, bless your heart kind of thing, where
yes,
where they're trying to sound like they're being nice or being caring, when in reality they're not.
And she'd pour fire on she'd pour kerosene on the bonfire if they were burning gay people or Muslims or anyone that doesn't hold to her particular version.
Wait, so the reason why she, I think, deleted that thread is when I kind of accused her of being an anti-LGBTQ bigot, and she because she responded and said that she isn't. I mean, she didn't deny the other things, but she claims she is an anti-LGBTQ bigot.
I've got pages of quotes of her saying, you know, some quite horrendous things, but coated in honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's it. I don't think I think she doesn't realizes, or she doesn't believe that she's being, making bigoted statements, even when she is, because of the way maybe she, codes what she's saying.
I don't think she's thought about it deeply. It's like I can't think of anything that's not particularly horrible. No, she just hasn't thought deeply about how her words can affect.
I get the impression she doesn't
someone.
think deeply about anybody.
Anything, yes, about anything.
Yeah, no, that's
Not even the Bible.
That's discouraged. If we take the Dawkins idea of the mean, essentially religions are a parasitic organism that it evolves and changes and gets better at replicating itself throughout the world, and it is most definitely harmful. And that's what we see, different versions of this particular virus or this particular parasite. And she's a good example of it.
Yeah, it's I mean, if you talk, I'm trying to think. If you talk to her, I suppose a good analogy is someone who's just casually racist, and they don't realise it. And only if you pull them up and they go, "Well, no, I like people of colour. I have one mow my lawn every week, and we have tea with." Yeah, but they're just.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think she thinks deeply enough to be callous or vindictive in her bigotry, but she is. Blarg would understand this reference. Neville, the highly decorative concrete Aboriginal. There used to be a show in Australia called Kingswood Country, and it was all about casual racism and weird. It was quite funny, but it was very cutting edge back in the late 80s, early.
It might have maybe even
70s?
started in the late 70s.
70s.
Yeah, definitely into the 80s. But it was hilarious. But the problem was it didn't bat an eye at the casual racism. It didn't occur to us that what was being said at all.
Yeah, it's, and that's changed. I mean, if anyone, I'll in the comments after the show, I'll put a link to some of the clips from Kingswood Country. It's quite funny, even now, because casual racism, I think, would be the thing with Libby. She doesn't think that deeply. Well, at least I hope it doesn't think that deeply, because that makes what she does even more hideous. And I think that's the problem. You don't really, you can't really tell what's behind it. whether it's just ignorance or whether it's maliciousness.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with Jim Edith, it's fairly obvious that they're malicious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't get
And
that
some of the
impression
others seem
from
like them
Libby.
idiots.
no, I think I get the impression that she actually thinks she's doing good by talking to people. And I have to mute. Hang on.
Yeah, I've had some back and forth about her and coming on this channel, and I was trying to go to her and say that what she's doing in the comments isn't effective, and if she really is interested in getting her word out, she would want to come in and talk to us. But she's kind of made it clear that that's not her thing.
Oh, maybe we all need to just keep pushing at it to say and see if we can talk her into it, because I don't find that she's deliberately nasty or offensive.
Right.
Just she's yeah. So maybe I know.
I think
But
some of it. I mean,
I'll even promise to be not to swear much. Oh, I know. I'll go back to using the same swear words that I was allowed to use at school. That way it won't offend her ears.
but I think she's like some of the other guys where I think they're pretty aware that they would not do well coming on and trying to articulate their views.
I think if they picked, I keep going back to, was it Stephen with the death penalty we had
Yeah.
on? That was actually a really one of the best shows. Even though it was, he was consistent, but there was also a slight change. He hadn't, I could sense that he was actually thinking more deeply about mandatory sentencing, and maybe the death penalty wasn't the be all and end all of punishments. There were better things. He obviously didn't know about the Scandinavian countries and the way they were, the work they were doing to reform people.
Well, I think the difference is, for a topic like that, he doesn't have his being vested in that, in that position. Whereas for someone like Libby or any of these Christians, it pretty much is, part of their an integral part of their being, to believe in their Bible.
Question though, maybe we could narrow the discussion topic down to something she'd be prepared to talk about, which is specifically her approach to telling us. So we're not here to talk about God. We're not going to ask you to demonstrate that God exists. We only want to talk about your approach to bringing the gospel to us. And maybe that would be something she'd be more comfortable to discuss.
Yeah, and I mean, that's always been the case where, any of these guys that come on, they can kind of pick their topic, but I think they're kind of afraid, that is going to open up to these things, or maybe they just, I mean, frankly, I don't think these guys have any real experience in talking to other people than, people in their, echo chamber.
Oh yeah, that's fairly certain, because otherwise they would have a better understanding of what atheism is to start with.
Yeah, but I think your point is well taken, in at least in the sense of kind of trying to reassure some of these folks, that they can sort of set the parameters of their appearance here, and although I've offered this multiple times, that they can tell us how they would like this to be, because some of them might just want to have a one-on-one discussion. And, like you said, some of them might feel better if it was like limited to a very specific discussion topic.
She maybe the LBG, the gay question might be one she would feel more comfortable speaking about as well, with because it's
Yeah, because I think like a lot
yeah
of these guys kind of feel like that they're doing it for the other person's own good. We're just trying to help the gays.
yeah
Or the other thing is like, it's not that we hate the sinner, we hate the sin.
yes, that seems to be a catch
So
cry
let's
that
stone the
is
sinner.
started.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't really hold water, does it?
no,
Yeah.
one thing, looking around, which I'd never done before, the religious channels, and there's 25 questions or 10 questions that atheists can't answer and everything, and it's sort of like, okay, you get a lot of variance with that, and I'm thinking maybe pick one of their channels, one of those sets of ridiculous questions they ask, and we answer it one Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Um,
idea.
because
Yeah.
they all do it, and they're getting a lot of traction on it, and I think it might be fun to have a go ourselves.
The problem, of course, is that they're all inherently easy to answer questions. They just sound like they should be difficult because of what the Christians have been told about what atheists are. So it's a straw man atheist couldn't answer these questions, not a real one.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
some of them are so nonsensical. It's like, I watched one a couple of days ago where it was, what the hell does that even mean? I couldn't work it out. Gee, it must be obeyed. I had to, comprehension. Please come and check. Nope. And the question was so strange. It was nonsensical. I could not work out what the hell the questions were for at least half of them. And I think there was 30 or 40 of them. And yeah, I'll look around and I'll zip a email to Q and let him have a look at them. But they come on fairly regular. They're not just your normal standard questions. Some of them, they like to mix
I
and
mean,
match.
some
Off
of
you
the
go, yeah.
longer ones usually end up with like 3 or 4 of them in a row are the same question reworded.
Yeah. Some of the ones that Sir Sick does and tries and answers, and his reaction videos are not bad. But for the first time, I went and looked at religious YouTube, and it's weird. I didn't realize how strange and how invasive and how much of it is out there. It's scary. And they all seem to be contradicting each other, which is another thing that religion does. But, well, it's organized religion anyway.
By the way, it looks like, our tactic to get, what's his name? The serial killer, Ed, off of the comments, as well as even the monkey. It seems to have worked, just not giving them any oxygen. They've kind of gotten tired of it, and they've stopped spamming the comment section. So that seems to work.
Yeah, I think whenever Ed gets a new batch of drugs or whatever, he goes manic. But Paul, I decided there's something quite wrong with his brain, obviously, and yeah, I'm not going to put up with him anymore, and we shouldn't have to, because doesn't the world end on Halloween?
Oh, that's
Well,
true.
He shifted it now. He shifted
Oh,
it
he
to
did.
Halloween in a few years' time.
Oh, but he used that excuse last year because the moon wasn't in the right blood phase or some thing
Was
like
that Garrett who did that?
yeah.
All these rapturists blend together for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, but he's so he's changed his. But yeah, I mean, I sort of went, okay. So if the rapture doesn't start, or if the world doesn't end in Halloween, well, we can just completely mute him, totally, and you can go Hunter Haggis. He's weird. Ed's will probably turn up the next time he gets a really good dose of meth. But you only have to look at him. The way he was walking back and forth. Yeah.
Did we see APOT's latest attempt at an argument from authority with the claim that atheism is inconsistent with the scientific method? So says a prize-winning physicist.
Oh, which
No,
one is
I
that?
missed
Which
that one.
physicist was he talking about?
Turns out the physicist he's talking about is, what is your name? Marcelo Gleisner, who won the 2019 Templeton Prize. He's a theoretical physicist and gave an interview to Scientific American where he says that atheism is inconsistent with the scientific method.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, APOT was going on about that. The problem is that his expert doesn't understand what atheism is. Let me just read momentarily the statement in the Scientific American thing, and then see if you can spot the problem. So he says, I honestly think atheism is inconsistent with the scientific method. What I mean by this is what is atheism? It's a statement, a categorical statement that expresses belief in non-belief. And then in quotes, I don't even believe, even though I have no evidence for or against, I simply don't believe. Period. It's a declaration, but in science, we don't do declarations. And it goes on. Anyone see any problems there?
I'm not sure why anyone would even publish a comment like that.
Yeah.
And
he calls himself
It's
an
just
agnostic.
asking for other scientists to laugh at you. It's just
Yeah, and that's the point. So a person who doesn't understand what atheism is or what atheism is saying is declaring that atheism is inconsistent with the scientific method. And you go, oh.
So the
fucking hell.
disbelief in the tooth fairy is inconsistent with the scientific method.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, it's a declaration, a categorical statement that expresses belief in non-belief.
Oh, it's
that's
not the
kinda-
tooth fairy anymore, Q. It's tooth bunny.
Why is that?
Forrest, when he was on the line, got his words confused and went,
Oh,
tooth
really?
bunny.
Okay. I didn't.
And
I didn't
someone
see that.
made a complete horrific mask of a rabbit, but with what I can only assume were cow teeth in it, and it's horrible. But yes, that's the new deity that has been invented by the line. Tooth bunny will come and get you. Or Jimmy Snow's one is what, Frank the penis stabber. Frank the penis stabber. If you're worried about hell, why aren't you worried about Frank the penis stabber? That one is quite good.
By the way, I do want to give a little shout out to John Clark. He's said that he's kind of been taking a break. I think he's only occasionally posting comments, but we miss him and wish to have him back when he's ready to come back. But certainly, this is not something that's worth, getting or risking your mental health for. And none of the comments here. So
John is a passionate fellow,
Yes,
as we've noticed.
I'd like to hear his story in a little bit more depth, because he comes across as a completely genuine 100% person, and he needs to pull it back a little bit, but I can't fault him. He's a really nice guy, and for him to get, I don't like to see anyone get really worked up or dwell on the bullshit that religion can push on people or try and push on people. And John, if you're listening later on, you got a community here. We all care about you, and wish you well. Don't forget
Indeed.
about us.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so I think that'll do it for this week. Once again, thanks for everyone in the live chats, and thank you guys on the stage for joining me. Always enjoyable, and always enjoy talking to you guys. So next week we'll see if we can get Libby on, or at least someone on. But Ook, if you have any other specific topics, do send it to me, and I'll try to get it set up. So we will sign off, and as always, we will see you in the comments.